My sister-in-law expects to be my maid of honor after ignoring me from the start?
Don't you have to like have low expectations to have any sort of happiness in life? That's how that phrase goes, right?
Yeah, exactly. I should be the worst possible maid of honor, and then on the day of, I really step up.
Exactly.
For context, my husband and I started dating in our senior year of high school. His sister, we'll call her Hannah, was 5 years older than us and was never more than cool and polite with me whenever I was around. She was never around very much anyways because she was super busy with work and going to a local college. By the way, this comes from DeepCry6530 on the r/OKstorytime subreddit. And if you want to submit your own stories, go there.
Wow, this is one of our own?
One of our own.
Our children?
Not children, my subjects. Hannah's dynamic with my husband has always been competitive. Hannah is the oldest and only girl with 3 brothers. My husband told me that growing up, none of the boys were ever allowed to be interested in / have the same hobbies as Hannah. Because Hannah says they can't? Or like your parents were like, no, only Hannah can do this. Anything that Hannah did was her thing. And her mom always made sure my husband never got to explore any of the things his sister already claimed. This spiked a very competitive nature in my husband as a young boy because he didn't understand why he was never allowed to go horse riding or do any of the other rather gender-neutral hobbies his sister did. He would try and do those things on his own anyways and would try to be better than his sister so he could prove to his mom he was worthy and talented enough to have the same hobby. He would always be reprimanded and scolded and made to stop doing it though because he was being selfish and stealing the spotlight from Hannah. Sorry if this detail is unnecessary, but fast forward to my husband and I's first year of dating. Hannah got engaged to a guy that everyone kept warning her was no good. She stubbornly stayed with this guy against advice, though. I got invited to the bridal shower, but the means in which I got invited was a little awkward. I had asked my husband, boyfriend at the time, if I could drop off a gift for his sister. He immediately texts his sister and asks if I can come to her bridal shower. I was mortified because now it seemed like I had invited myself. And I was very new to the family still. My boyfriend assured me it was fine, but I'm not sure if this is where the attitude towards me started or if it was always there to begin with. I went to her bridal shower though and brought her a small gift and congratulations. She seemed happy and greeted me nicely at the shower. It was a little awkward though because I was meeting a lot of my boyfriend's family for the first time at this shower. I did not stay long though under the excuse that I had homework and only stayed 30 minutes. I was also my husband's wedding date at her wedding and his mom insisted I come back into the bridal suite for the buttoning of the dress and all the pre-wedding preparations. I tried to be supportive and stay out of the way at the time. Hannah mostly just ignored me anyways. It was my husband's mom that kept insisting I be included. The wedding was a small church wedding, but very sweet and intimate with close friends and family. I did tear up at the father-daughter dance, and I had to excuse myself to the bathroom so no one would see me cry. I cried because my father had left my family 2 years prior, and it hit me that I would never get a father-daughter dance at my future wedding. Oh, that's so sad. I only told my husband, boyfriend, why I was upset, and I pulled myself together. I don't think anyone else noticed, or if they did, they never asked. Later, for the family photos, my husband's mom insisted I get into some of the photos. Less than a year later, Hannah filed for divorce because the guy she married turned out to be the embodiment of and was a terrible, no good person, just as her family and friends had tried to warn her all along. Well, it's hard to, sometimes people need to learn that lesson themselves.
Yeah, when you're in that situation, you have to learn the hard way, but that still sucks.
Yeah. My husband was incredibly supportive of her during this time, but she became reclusive and depressed. She buried herself in work, changed her major in college, and rarely came to any family function. When she did, I barely got an acknowledgement of existence. I would try to hug and greet her, start conversations, etc., but she remained very distant and cool. When my husband and I would snuggle on the couch, I would sometimes catch her staring at us, and then she would look away. I felt bad for her because I knew that seeing our relationship must hurt since hers ended so badly. My husband and I were together for 5 years and never once did Hannah ever ask how I was doing, ask how college was, or try to be involved in my life or my husband's life. Yeah, so clearly there's no real relationship here.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's any animosity, but just like nothing.
It's just non-existent.
Neutral. When we started planning our wedding, we told Hannah about the wedding date we had chosen a year beforehand. The date was special to us, and the date would fall on our 6th year anniversary of being together. She hemmed about the date and said that with her work, she could never be sure about what days she would have to work on. She told us she would more than likely have to work. We didn't pressure her, we just said we understood if she had to work, but if she could be there, we would love to have her. My husband would be the first of her brothers to get married, and he still currently has the longest lasting relationship out of any of his siblings. It did strike me as odd that she didn't even consider taking a personal day or a day off, or even talking to her boss, seeing as we gave her a whole year's notice. Anyways, fast forward to a month before our big wedding, and my husband gets a text along the lines of, "Hey, Hannah's wondering if OP has made a group chat with the bridal party yet, and if maybe she forgot to include Hannah in the chat." Nope.
The group chat exists. You're not getting any of the texts
You're not in it.
because you're not in it.
You're not in it because we don't have a relationship, so you're not going to be in my bridal party.
Yeah, sorry.
Either way, OP is probably just busy with wedding planning and forgot to include her. Let me know what dress she needs to get as soon as possible, as we are on a time crunch now. To say my mouth hit the floor is an understatement. I was flabbergasted. A year ago, she told us she more than likely wouldn't be able to come because of work. Neither my husband nor I had spoken to her since then. Not out of spite or anything, we just never stayed in contact with her, period. We had sent her and her new current boyfriend an invite to the wedding. That was it. I had picked my bridal party, wedding colors, dresses, and everything over a year ago. I never even thought to include Hannah because she knew nothing about me or my friends. Because you guys are not friends.
Right.
I don't understand. She never stayed in touch with my husband, aka her brother, so as far as I knew, she could barely be bothered to take a day off to attend our wedding, let alone be a part of it. My husband immediately tried to do damage control and asked me if I could just make Hannah a bridesmaid to keep the peace. At first, I said absolutely not, because I was fuming that she would care so little about us as a couple, and then a month before our wedding assumed she was a bridesmaid. I had never mentioned it or asked her. I never even had a conversation with her in which she could remotely accuse me of misleading her into thinking she was part of the bridal party. The only conversation we had was about the wedding date and that we would love to have her at our wedding if she didn't have to work. Not wanting to cause a rift in his family, though, since now his mom was involved, I finally calmed down and consented to make her a bridesmaid. And we planned who we would ask to be an extra groomsman to walk with her. For context, the other two brothers had been asked by my husband to be groomsmen. So in hindsight, maybe she just assumed that since all the brothers were a part of the wedding, then she must be too. We decided we would call Hannah ourselves and explain the situation, that we thought based on our last conversation, she wasn't going to be able to get off of work for a wedding, so we didn't want to include her in the bridal party if she wasn't sure she couldn't be there. However, if she was now able to come to our wedding, we would be more than happy to include her and make her a bridesmaid. I tried calling Hannah first. No answer. I sent her a text just in case she didn't have my number saved and then tried calling her a second time. It rang twice and then sent me to voicemail. I told my husband to try calling her since she might not answer a strange number. My husband tried calling her, no answer. We knew from his mom Hannah had just been on the phone with his mom, so it wasn't like she was suddenly busy. He tried calling a second time and still no answer. My husband texted his mom that he was trying to call Hannah, and his mom responded with, "Well, Hannah's feeling a little hurt because she feels like y'all really don't want her at your wedding now. So she's just thinking about not coming at all now."
Girl, pick one. You can't be switching up like this.
Also, they said it in the nicest way possible. They were like, "Hey, didn't realize you were coming to the wedding. Sorry. Yeah, we'd love to have you as a bridesmaid.
Because you told me that you probably wouldn't be able to come to the wedding.
Told me that you weren't going to be there. What are you talking about?
For a stupid reason, too.
I'm sorry. You're making no sense."
Nothing. Not at all. Not one sense ever.
My husband told his mom we did want her to come and that we were trying to resolve things, but that she wasn't picking up the phone. My husband then tried calling Hannah a third time and it rang twice before sending him straight to voicemail. At this point, my husband's ticked off and says that he refuses to grovel and beg for her to be in the wedding when she never prioritized coming in the first place. We didn't keep calling and she never called back or responded to any of my texts. She didn't come to my bridal shower or our big wedding day. We never got a card, a congratulations, or a reason why she wasn't there. I was baffled that she would treat family this way, but my husband's mom was upset at us because traditionally the groom's sister is always a bridesmaid. What are you freaking talking about? No, it's traditionally the people that the bride is friends with, the people that the bride is close with.
Traditionally, the groom's sister will not say a year in advance, sorry, I have to work.
Yeah, I can't go.
Sorry. Like, traditionally, the sister's going to be there.
Yeah, traditionally, when people say, "Oh, I can't go," you think that they can't go, so you get other people to fill in.
Traditions mean nothing anymore.
I am from the South, and I have never heard of this tradition, or even been to a wedding where this tradition is followed. I always thought that the bridesmaids were picked by the bride and were people that were close to the bride and groom and supportive of the bride and groom. Either way, we have seen his sister twice since our wedding, and the topic has never been brought up. She is especially cold and distant from us. We recently attended the wedding of one of the other brothers, and she was there as a bridesmaid. She has a wonderful relationship with the other brother's wife, talks and laughs with her, goes shopping with her, and now I'm the sister-in-law on the outside looking in. I feel left out and hurt. I tried to be friendly with her and to get to know her. She never let down her walls to let me pass the polite barrier. I did greet her at the wedding and I hugged her. She seemed surprised at the warmness of my greeting and did not hug back. My husband also hugged her and sparked a small conversation with her. She seemed to warm up to my husband a bit more by the end of the evening, but she never talked to me the entire night, even when I was sitting right beside her and trying to start a conversation. By the way, you can listen to our conversations if you go to full episodes with stories just like this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to this story. Do you have any final thoughts, though?
Yeah, it's just the same stuff. Like, that's just, I don't understand having all these expectations when you're not doing your part. It's like you can't.
Yeah, and then getting mad about the switch up when there wasn't really a switch up. It was like you switching up.
Yeah, it's like you're just like, oh, okay, so like this is what's going to happen. I understand this. I'm not going to talk to her about what's going to happen to see where she's at. I'm just going to expect to be there. And then when I'm not, what? She can't read my mind? Huh?
And then when she says, oh, didn't realize you were coming, I'm going to be like, well, now I'm not coming for sure because you didn't know I was coming.
You're being so pouty.
So pouty. Yeah. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
But there's a little bit left of the story.
Let's do it.
I guess I just don't know what to do now, and it hurts to be the disliked sister-in-law. I have never been close to her, and now I feel doomed to never be close with her or any of the other sisters-in-law. Because now that my husband and I live long distance, all the other girls have heard is whatever opinion of me Hannah has already told them. So when I get to meet them, I get the side eye and I'm left out of their sparkling laughing conversations. So am I the a-hole for not making her a bridesmaid to begin with? Thank you for sticking around to the end. And there are some comments to finish the story off. Comment 1. Question, did you or your husband tell your mother-in-law that Hannah specifically stated that she was probably going to have to work on the day of your wedding? If not, please tell your mother-in-law what actually happened and how you feel that Hannah is bullying you. Tell the family that this situation needs to be resolved amicably or you will be going low contact because of Hannah's bullying. If you have told mother-in-law what actually happened, then I would tell the family. The whole family that you and hubby are going low contact because of the way Hannah is treating you, how it makes you feel bad, how you feel excluded, all the feels. If they don't do anything, then you know you made the right decision and followed through with low contact. If they do take actions to correct it, then you get resolution and hopefully happiness and reconciliation. Opie says, my mother-in-law knows what happened. We explained to her that Hannah told us she would probably be working during our wedding. I thought I mentioned this in the original post, but mother-in-law is the one who sent the first text letting us know Hannah expected to be a bridesmaid in the first place. But all mother-in-law told us afterward is that Hannah felt left out and pretty much just left us to try and fix things. And it again went back to the whole tradition thing. Mother-in-law has tried to force video calls between us, like at Christmas time last year, but it was very awkward and forced when Hannah does talk to us. When she talks, it's just for mother-in-law's sake. We are pretty much already low contact with Hannah anyways, as she never contacts us, and we don't reach out to her. We haven't said anything to anyone else in the family about it because mother-in-law would get upset if we said something against Hannah. Mother-in-law is very protective of Hannah, and it would cause a big uproar if we called her out. The whole family has tiptoed around Hannah since her divorce, understandably. Maybe they don't want to risk her cutting contact with the whole family. My husband is of the opinion that he just doesn't want to stir anything up if it's quiet right now. His mom can be a very hard person to deal with at times as well. I'm convinced she is a covert, self-absorbed person. So we have just slowly been going low contact with mother-in-law as well. There is another comment. Comment 2, maybe try to get the new sister-in-law alone and tell her how you feel. Let her know that you feel like she made an opinion about you without her ever meeting you, really. Let her know if that's really how she is, then that's fine and you'll leave her alone, but you feel like you deserve a chance to tell your side of things. I would also have my husband talk to his brother about it. You will need to try and work something out before you have children. My brother-in-law couldn't stand me, but I made the effort so that our children could grow up together as cousins. I think it's very important and my children cherish those relationships. Opie says, I have not sat down with my new sister-in-law privately and talked to her about this, but my husband and I were sitting with his brother, his then fiance, and my husband casually brought up the conflict and asked if they had heard anything from Hannah. Sister-in-law got really quiet and pulled out her phone and started texting someone. I couldn't see who, but I almost wondered if it was Hannah. All the brother said was he knew Hannah was upset and that we should probably try to resolve that before our wedding. So sister-in-law got to hear our side, but said absolutely nothing. The conversation got kind of tense, so it felt like they knew more about the situation, but weren't telling us. They changed the subject and we let it drop and never brought it up again. That was before our wedding and their wedding. They both came to our wedding and had a good time. I tried to be super welcoming to her and include her on our wedding day. Then Hannah ends up being a bridesmaid at their wedding the next year. There's no bad blood between myself and new sister-in-law, but I know Hannah has gotten to her and I am still on the outside. My husband has a good enough relationship with his brother that I think they would allow our future kids to have relationships. I just feel like I will never be able to get close to his family because it feels like I messed up.
Oh boy.
Oh man, and that's the end of the story.
That's a lot.
But I think it's just like knowing that it seems like you really didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes, unfortunately, people just don't like you and there's really little that you can do about it.
Yeah.
You know, I think having a one-on-one conversation with the other sister-in-law, trying to talk to her, you don't necessarily have to explain everything that happened, but I think just saying like, hey, would love to hang out with you one-on-one. Let's go get coffee. Let's go shopping and stuff, and just make an effort to hang out with her one-on-one without all of the drama and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can put in that little effort. If she doesn't reciprocate, I don't think you need to continue doing it. You don't need to carry that at all. And it could just be the kind of thing where it's like, okay, you know what you did was fine. You know that you shouldn't feel guilty for it because it was justified and it was not a problem at all.
Exactly.
And if they don't agree, then they don't agree. Maybe eventually they'll come around, but you can't control it. So
Exactly.
yeah.
But that is the end of that story.